Well, good morning. Tiki and I are back at it in the garage here. So behind me is a metal lathe. I've actually, actually behind me it was an empty horizontal surface in my garage, which, it was like that for at least 48 hours, so I had to find something to put on it, some other place to pile junk. So this is a metal lathe. I'm going to take the camera off and I'll give a little bit closer tour of it. I haven't done anything to this thing. I inherited this from my uncle, the same guy who gave me the bench grinder, willingly or not. Like I said, he was a machinist. His father was a machinist. And my great-grandfather was a machinist for Scott Paper, actually. So I have been intrigued by this particular item since I saw it in 2001. Actually, it was shockingly like August 2001 or July 2001 when I first saw this in my uncle's basement. Now, I am not a machinist. I'm fascinated by machine work. I do have aspirations of buying some machines. The one thing I don't have is aspirations of actually using this. I actually want to sell it, so if anybody, or give it away, I prefer to sell it, obviously. It's worth at least $20 in scrap. It weighs, I'm going to say it weighs at least 150 pounds. I almost dropped a nut trying to pick it up, so it's at least 150 pounds. So I don't know who the manufacturer of this piece of equipment is. Now, I know my uncle and my great-grandfather, he's actually my great-uncle. So, yeah, but whatever, doesn't matter. So I know they were Sears people. I had mentioned this before, that they were craftsman kind of guys. They weren't snap-on people. So I've done a little bit of poking around on the interwebs, and I've come to the conclusion, maybe I'm wrong, most likely I am, that this is possibly a South Bend lathe produced for Sears and Roebuck and Company and sold as a Sears expert. And I've been looking for, I haven't cleaned this up since the last time I picked it up off the floor. I've actually fiddled with this thing about 4 times. And every time I fiddle with it, I just get frustrated with it and I put it back underneath the workbench and say I'll get to it later. And that's probably what's going to happen again, but I was just fascinated by this, and I just wanted to show it off because it is kind of cool. I mean, I think to the right person it would make a great conversation piece if you wanted to put it on a shelf somewhere, or you wanted to use it as a piece of decor, which is something that I actually thought about, but I just don't have anywhere to put it. So real quick, while the camera's still wide, it has a tailstock. I don't know what the taper is. I think it's a 1. This is a jack shaft. So this machine doesn't have a motor for it. Shockingly, or not shockingly, this was marketed as a multi-power machine. So it runs off big, wide, flat belts, which I have here. They've seen better days. But actually, the belt was broken when I got it. And you're supposed to mount this someplace else, and then the power comes into here, and then you can change the speeds of the machine by changing where the belt rides. I don't know how that works. I could look it up. I know it's not a big deal. But this is actually also, you can hand power this lathe. I've seen photos, and actually they're not even photographs, they're drawings on the internet, and actually the Sears and Roebuck and South Bend advertisements. They have this as a foot-powered lathe. You put a big foot treadle on the bottom, and it would have a very large flywheel, and then it would operate like an old-timey sewing machine. Yeah, I don't see me doing that. I thought about it. Or, you know, strapping my kid to a bicycle and making him pedal. Which would probably be safer than operating it off of an electric motor. It had an electric motor on it when I got it, but I plugged the motor in and it immediately started to smoke. So discretion was the better part of valor, and I shit-canned that motor. I think the motor was probably, I don't even know. I have no idea. My assumption is sometime around 1920, 1930, the electric motor that I threw away, which I probably shouldn't have thrown away. So I don't really have a motor to put on this thing right now, and like I said, I don't really plan on putting a motor on it. I might try it. I've got a electric motor out of a blower, which probably doesn't have enough power to spin this, but it does spin, it does move, and shockingly, it actually spins pretty easily. Just the headstock here spins pretty easily. Once you engage the gear drive, though, once you engage the drive mechanisms, it starts to significantly slow down, which I'm assuming is just lack of oil. It doesn't have any oil caps on it. It does have oil holes, though. So I'm going to grab the camera real quick, and I'm just going to do a real slow once pan around while I babble like an idiot. Here's another belt for it. I think this is way wider, so I think it might actually drive one of these. I don't know how it works. All I know is I hooked it up to an electric drill one day, just running off of one of these shafts, and yeah, it scared me to death, and I'll show you why. I'm going to put you down so this. So this here's the business end of this creature. This was built obviously long before there were any type of safety regulations. This was, like I said, I'm thinking that this was either very early 1900s, like 1910, 1912, 1913, which would be right in line with when my great-grandfather would have been a young man. And just getting into machining or going to school. I found a lot of books on machining and machine work. The damn mice ate them, which really irritated me. But so yeah, this thing was definitely built before there were any form of safety regulations. Like I said, I spun this thing up one day with an electric drill. I actually mangled the screw here doing it. But yeah, it was horrifying to watch all this stuff spin around. It's literally, it's begging to have your fingers caught in it. I was joking with a friend of mine that these were probably marketed towards children, and you know, they all had stubby little fingers because they got caught inside this monstrosity. There's supposed to be some, if it is what they say it is, let's fix our exposure here. If it is what I think it is, there should be some kind of serial number stamped in it somewhere around here. If it doesn't have a serial number stamped in it around here, it might even be older than I think it is. I have kind of half-assed cleaned this thing, like I said, 4 or 5 times over the last couple years. When I say cleaned, I mean just vacuumed the mouse shit off of it. Like I said, this is just a conversation piece for me. I don't really have any intentions on restoring it. It's for sale to the right person for the right price. It can go really cheap. You got to come pick it up. I'm not shipping this piece of shit anywhere because it is, like I said, it's insanely heavy. It's got to weigh at least 150 pounds, maybe more. So that's the gears and all on the end, and then there's this mechanism here engages this drive, so that turns like that and engages these wheels here. Even just spinning this thing by hand, I'm afraid I'm going to get my fingers caught in it. And there's a gear reduction. Ah, fuck! See? God damn it! Caught me. Yep, caught my thumb. That's what I get for trying to do two things at once. Little bastard. Yeah, so this thing's like dead to me. I mean, even more dead to me than it was before. I am going to clean it up, but I don't think this is ever going to see any use. I'm sure there's some old machinist out there that's saying, oh wow, you know, that's a great machine, they don't build them like that anymore, blah blah blah. You know what, I'm sure you're right, and I'm sure there's a reason they don't build them like this anymore, because you only have 8 fingers left. So I'm going to put the camera down, I'm going to vacuum this thing off a little, maybe spray it with a little WD-40 again, and just take a look to see if I can find any more marks on it.